I'm Ruby. I'm Imi Lily.
I'm Lilith.
I'm Nancy.
And this is
Poems.
Deep and Dangerous
Part 3!
We sit nebulous in steam. It calms the air and makes the windows stream, rippling the hinterland's big houses to a blur of bedsits, not a patch on what they were before. We stuff the tub, jam money in the slot, sit back on wrinkled chairs, not reading. The paperbacks in our pockets curl. Our eyes are riveted, our own colours whirl. We pour in smithereens of soap. The machine sobs through its cycle. The rhythm throbs and changes, suds drool and slobber. In the churn our duds don't know which way to turn. The dark shoves one man in, lugging a bundle like a wandering Jew. Linen washed in public here, we let out the bag, who we are. This young wife has a fine stack of sheets, each pair a present. She admires their clean-cut air of colour schemes and being chosen. Are the dyes fast? This crystalline lava will be the first test. This woman is deadpan. Before the rinse and sluice of the family in the bag wash, let them stew in their juice to a final fankle. Twisted, wrung into rope, hard to unravel. She sees a kaleidoscope, for her to narrow her eyes and blow smoke at, his overalls and pants ballooning, tangling with her smalls and the t-shirt skinned from her wriggling sun. She has a weather eye for what might shrink or run. This dour man does for himself. Before him, half lost, his small possessions swim, cast off, random, they nose and nudge the portable glass like flotsam. Liz Lockheed was born in 1947. She's a Scottish poet, but she's also written and adapted plays. Laundrette is a poem about people and their emotions, clothing and the way they act. Laundrette is also a poem about how the city has gone downhill. So Laundrette has an AABB rhyme scheme and a theme of uncertainty. Laundrette has many poetic techniques, including sibilance. Sibilance is the repetition of S sounds, and it also has alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sound. Onomatopoeia is when a word sounds like the noise it describes. A simile is a figure of speech in which a person or thing is described as being like another, usually preceded by as or like. There's also enjambment. Enjambment is where the line doesn't make sense without the next line. And personification is the attribution of human qualities or feelings to inanimate objects. So Laundrette has lots of techniques and you have to go through them slowly and pick all the important ones out. So Laundrette is quite a long poem with lots of poetic techniques consisting of 8 stanzas. Thanks for listening and good luck with your exams.
I ne'er was struck before that hour with love so sudden and so sweet. Her face it bloomed like a sweet flower and stole my heart away complete. My face turned pale as deadly pale, my legs refused to walk away. And when she looked, what could I ail? My life and all seemed turned to clay. And then the blood rushed to my face and took my sight away. The trees and bushes round the place seemed midnight at noonday. I could not see a single thing, words from my eyes did start. They spoke as chords do from the string, and blood burnt round my heart. Are flowers the winter's choice? Is love's bed always snow? She seemed to hear my silent voice and love's appeal to know. I never saw so sweet a face as that I stood before. My heart has left its dwelling place and can return no more.
I have chosen this poem because I like the way the poem is the complete opposite of an expectation of first love. John Clare was born into a peasant family in Helpston, England. He published several volumes of poetry, including poems descriptive of rural life and scenery. After suffering from delusions, Clare was admitted to an insane asylum where he spent the final 20 years of his life. This is a poem about falling in love for the first time. It describes the overwhelming feelings experienced when you see your first love for the very first time. In the pink, I have highlighted alliteration. in the orange personification, in the green enjambment, in the blue juxtaposition, and in the yellow similes. In the first line uses clock imagery. This could be a symbol for life, each hour holding something new. The word stole in the fourth line suggests that his heart has been taken without permission. It is not a word associated with love. My life and all seem turned to clay. Clay is something manipulative and mouldable. Midnight at noonday shows the danger and the darkness of love. The words winter and snow are cold words, and they are the time that nature dies and the thing that helps to kill it. Seems he is uncertain that she actually notices him. The last two lines are very final, and there is no doubt that it is the end of the poem. He uses repetition to reinforce his points. The repetition of violent words helps us to see the pain he feels, and the repetition of the heart imagery draws the poem back to love. I hope this helped, and good luck in your exams.
After the accident, they brought me aching home. Mouth pumped up like a tyre, black stitches tracking the wound over my lip. The red slit, signalling the broken place. And my son, my tall, cool son of 16, kissed the top of my head, and over the curve of my shoulder laid his arm, like a broad wing of a mother bird, guarding its young. Anyone who has known tenderness, thrown like a lifeline into the heart of pain, anyone who has known pain, bleed into tenderness, knows how the power of the two combine, and if I am a fool to give thanks for pain as well as tenderness, and even if, as some people would say, there are no accidents, still, I am grateful for the gift.
I have chosen the poem The Gift by Chris Banks because I like the sentimental meaning. The poem The Gift is about her son, who is 16, taking the role of carer for her. The first stanza of the poem sets up tension because we do not know if it is past or present, like Chris Banks said. I love the way poetry works through setting up tensions between words and silence, what is said and unsaid. Enjambment is labelled in purple, alliteration in yellow, and sibilance in blue. After the accident is alliteration. My mouth pumped up like a tyre is a simile, and wound over my lip is enjambment. Cool son of 16 is sibilance because it is repeating the letter S. Like the broad wing of a mother bird is enjambment and simile. Anyone who has known tenderness, thrown like a lifeline into the heart of pain. Anyone who has known pain, bleed into tenderness. Thrown like a lifeline is a simile, and heart of pain, anyone who has known pain, is enjambment. Give thanks for pain is enjambment, as well as tenderness, and even if, as some would say is sibilance. Would say there are no accidents is enjambment. Still, I am grateful for the gift, which is alliteration. The poem The Gift has an irregular rhyming scheme. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this poem as much as I did.
Yes, in the sea of life enisled, with echoing straits between us thrown, dotting the shoreless watery wild, we mortal millions live alone. The islands feel the enclasping flow, and then their endless bounds they know. But when the moon their hollow lights, and they are swept by balms of spring, and in their glens or the starry nights the nightingales divinely sing, and lovely notes from shore to shore across the sounds and channels pour, oh then a longing like despair is to their farthest caverns sent, for surely once they feel we were parts of a single continent. Now round us spreads the watery plain, O might our marges meet again, who ordered that their longing's fire should be as soon as kindled cooled, who renders vain their deep desire, a god their severance ruled, and bade betwixt their shores to be the unplumbed salt estranging sea. In the first stanza, Arnold talks about our togetherness and lack thereof. He says that we all live on separate islands, that's a metaphor for isolation, and we are all alone. He uses alliteration, mortal millions, watery wild, personification, the islands feel, and an oxymoron, endless bounds. In the second stanza, Arnold says that sometimes when there is a clear night we can hear each other through our isolation. He uses sibilance, shore to shore, across sounds and channels, and repetition with and at the start of lines. In the third stanza, Arnold says that once we were all united, but now we are separated, and he hopes we may meet again. In this stanza he uses enjambment, we were parts, alliteration, might our marges meet. In the fourth stanza, Arnold asked who would be cruel enough to do such a thing, and comes to the conclusion that it was God. The techniques he uses in these stanzas are enjambment, fine should, rhetorical questions, and sibilance, sort of stringing C.
So, since this is our last Poems Deep and Dangerous video, we thought we have one poem left over, and since we couldn't decide who would do the poem, we thought we'd all do it for you. So here is Patricia McCarthy's Football After School.
You'll be one of them in a few years. War paint slicked over your face, your common language jeers, dribbling the sun about the place with a premature swagger of manhood, butting it with your head, your school tie a stiff, striped dagger.
Yes, soon you'll be picking scabs of kisses off your skin as each kick makes you dwarf a tree and stab a flower. The unset homework between margins of this makeshift pitch teaching you more than a textbook how to survive any monster's switch.
Yet, as I look at your porcelain skin, their granite jowls, I wonder if you'll ever know how to dodge bruises on your shins from studded boots. Be clever enough to tackle fouls with something more than ink-stained fists and feet. Perhaps you'll be too vulnerable for living.
Not hooligan enough to trample into the sod your shadow that grows twice as fast as yourself to sample punches below the belt from one you know without flinching. I can't prevent crossbones on your knees, turn bullies into cement, or confiscate the sun they'll puncture and put out. In their robust world I'm no Amazon, I can only scream inside without a shout, for you not to inherit my fragility, never to love too much or be aged as I was by youth's anxiety.
The first line gets the reader interested. Who are the them she talks about, and why will this person be one of them? This verse is about how she knows his becoming like the other boys is inevitable.
The second stanza is about what he's going to learn out of school, the football pitch, rather than in school.
The third verse is about her wondering if he is capable of protecting himself against the evils of life, learning to be the upper man in accusations and fights. When she says, "Look at your porcelain skin," she means that his skin is unmarked with life's scars and pain. She then thinks to herself that perhaps her son is actually too weak and vulnerable for life.
In the fourth stanza, McCarthy is saying that maybe her son won't be able to handle the rough and tumble way the boys play. She uses alliteration, below the belt, sibilance, sod your shadows, enjambment, trample into, grows twice, sample punches, know without, prevent crossbones. A sod is a torn piece of grass.
Throughout the poem there's lots of alliteration, sibilance, onomatopoeia and metaphors. There's 5 stanzas, an A-B, C-D-C rhyming scheme. The title Football After School suggests a happy poem, whereas in reality this poem is far from it.
Part 3. Part 3. Go and watch part 2. And if you're lucky, part 1. But this is part 3. Go and watch part 2 and part 1.
No, it's fine. It's fine.